Today, we're going to talk through loaded boxes once again because I've had a handful of breakers reach out over the last month, all independently from each other, to tell me that they think they're getting loaded boxes from Tops and Fanatics. And what makes this, even more interesting than the loaded box talk that we've had in the past is that they've all reached out independently and they're all sort of telling me the same thing. Now, each of these guys want this to remain 100% off the record. They've said I can talk to the key facts, but they essentially want to stay anonymous. I will respect their wishes with that. But I'm hoping to talk about this today so you guys can share your input or let me know if you've talked to other breakers, or hopefully we can get other breakers talking as well, because if you've got, these manufacturers sending hot boxes to breakers, that's very suspect and disappointing for the market and the hobby as a whole, because it probably means you're getting screwed over a little bit, which also is quite disappointing and is essentially fraud from these manufacturers. But as I said, these guys want to stay off the record, but they've said I can talk to a few things. Now, one of the quotes I did receive from one of these breakers was, "I will tell you, Daniel, 100% off the record, so don't attach my name to this quote, that myself and another breaker, a friend of mine, are receiving product from Fanatics and Tops, and we feel that some of these cases are 100% loaded. They feel like they are loaded." And that's quite surprising to see, because when you've got a breaker making those kinds of comments, it should hold a lot more substance and a lot more weight than when we as viewers are watching a break and are sort of seeing things, pop off, and we question things when it's, from content creators or sponsored events. When you've got a breaker saying it themselves that when they're opening the product, they're getting a weird feeling, that holds a lot more weight and is very, very suspect. And they go on to say that, it's not every single case they're getting that feels like it's like this. It's just a select few. And the second they, open the first box, they can almost pick which cards are coming next because they all seem to follow the same trend. Now, one of the questions that I did ask of each of these breakers was, well, how much of that do you feel is QC issues, i.e. these manufacturers are making mistakes, so you just get these things that happen, versus actual loaded boxes? And these guys have said, well, no, I feel like these are 100% loaded boxes. Now, per my understanding, based on discussion with these guys, they're not doing anything untoward with this information. They're still selling it to their customers. It's just one of those things that when they're opening it up on camera, they sort of know which hits are going to come next to an extent, i.e. not the specific player or card, but they know that a big card is coming just based on what they've seen from some of these loaded boxes. And again, some of you guys might say, well, this is just all hearsay. That's very fair. But like I said, I've had 4 to 5 breakers reach out over the last month, all tell me the same story, all independent from each other, that don't appear to have a relationship with each other, don't appear to be trying to, put out false information or anything like that. It all seems very genuine. And to reaffirm, some of these guys are guys that have pushed back on me quite hard in the DMs before about hotbox talk. So the fact they're reaching out and saying this goes a long way. And I'll put something up on screen now that is a post that's done the rounds on various social media groups and forums. But it's pretty interesting because it's essentially what is apparently a DM exchange with, somebody that has a friend that works at Tops, and this person has come out and said that, we are separating product into 2 streams, one that goes to breakers, one that goes to customers, and essentially ones that are going to the breakers are the ones that have the big cards in them. They're essentially all doing this from a financial, gain perspective. They want to maximize the money. Now, again, you guys might say, well, what is the incentive for Tops and Fanatics to do this? Well, if you're talking about breakers that are partnered with Fanatics, now I can't confirm if any of these breakers are in fact partnered with Fanatics, but if they are, and they are also jumping onto Fanatics live platform, they want that to sort of happen, right? There's an incentive for them to want this to happen, because not only are they going to make money off of selling the cases to the breaker themselves, but when you've got breakers constantly getting hot boxes like Backyard Breaks do, as an example, they're not partnered with Fanatics, but they're just an example. When they're going on the Whatnot platform, or they're going on Fanatics live platform, in this case, they're also going to make money off every transaction. So if there's a breaker constantly getting big cards, then they're double dipping on that revenue stream, right? They're selling the breaker the case, but then also making money off every single spot that sells. And they're going to sell a lot more spots because people are going to flock to those breakers on that platform because they're getting all the big cards, right? That's where the incentive occurs. And at the top of the video, at least I think I said, one of the things that I think Fanatics is doing here is, if they want to try and sign on breakers and they want to try and create some buzz for breakers to partner with them, this is one way for them to do that, right? If you've got these breakers buying cases through the Fanatics platform, and then they're getting them and then in the hot boxes, and they think, well, this is incredibly fantastic, I'm going to sign up as an exclusive partner with Fanatics and, almost limit myself to what I can do with Panini product or Leaf product, as an example. They get them signed up to that exclusive contract, then all of a sudden they stop sending them loaded boxes. That's obviously a really high level IQ play for them to apply here. Now, again, could you say that is just a theory? Sure, that's just me talking up my ass potentially, but that's another incentive that you could see happening in this instance. Now, to reiterate, I'm fairly certain that none of these breakers are Fanatics partners. I'm almost 99.99% certain. So it's interesting that they are the ones getting loaded boxes, given that they're not partnered with them. But that incentive there that I just explained might be why we're sort of seeing what we're seeing, because the more that continues, the more breakers might get excited to sign on to Fanatics, and they do sign on to these long-term, exclusive deals, and all of a sudden they pull the plug for, the loaded boxes, and Fanatics start shifting the loaded boxes to the breakers that they want, i.e. the equivalent of the backyard breaks example that I just gave a little bit earlier. Now, not sure on the specifics of how those deals work, but again, that's a bit of incentive here for this to sort of happen. But to reiterate, I've had a number of breakers make those kinds of quotes that I mentioned a bit earlier. It's just quite surprising that you've got these guys now coming out who were so, hesitant to make statements about these loaded boxes, now coming to me independently from each other and saying the same sort of thing is very eye-opening for me. And I'm really keen to sort of hear what you guys have to say. Now, loaded box talk has sort of always been there. It always happens, like I said, when it comes to breaks and sponsorship events, like we talked to with Card Collector 2 the other day, which turns out not to be a loaded box, because the holographic sticker we did see in that video is apparently on every case of Flawless. But it's just a very interesting one that it's now coming from these guys, and I'm really keen to sort of see if we see more, but more importantly, what you guys as viewers can help me shake loose here. Let me know if you can talk to some breaker friends that you have, or there's a company that you break with, and ask them the question, do you feel like you are getting hot boxes from Topps? Are you a Fanatics partner? Do you feel like you're getting these hot boxes? Now, another big talking point that I want to use to close out the video here is, what it actually means if Fanatics is actually doing this, right? Because people need to remember that this is fraud. And the reason why it's fraud is that you, as a customer, going to your local card store, going to your retail store, or buying a box from Fanatics directly, are not even in it to win it in the first place. i.e. you're buying a hobby box thinking that you've got a chance to hit a Wemby 1 of 1 as an example. But you can't, because the box and the case that had that card in it was pushed to a breaker. And that's a big no-no, and is not, anything that should be shied away from, how criminal that kind of behavior actually is. And it's just, very disappointing to see. And I'm really hoping that this is not true, because that sort of spells almost disaster for this hobby long term, because it means that this manufacturer that now has this monopoly, this control over the end-to-end process completely for this trading card process, is shifting things away from, the true collector and pushing it into that breaking space, which is quite scary. Scary because it's pushing it down that gambling aspect. And when you're looking at things through that gambling lens, i.e. breaks and all that kind of thing, they're going to try and incentivize and create value specifically around that process, which means, the art of collecting cards is probably going to get diminished in some capacity. Now, that is, probably the ultimate doom and gloom kind of scenario, but it sort of is what it is if this is what is actually happening, which again scares me quite a lot. And it's not meant to, again, be doom and gloom, but that's sort of what you expect to sort of see if this is how the flow is going. If this is actually happening, that's basically what you're going to see. Fanatics have a crazy monopoly that we've not seen before, because they literally have the manufacturing, they actually own the printers. Pretty soon you're going to maybe see them own a grader too, so they're going to have the whole end-to-end offering. They're going to do conventions as well. It's got this complete, stranglehold on the throat of the hobby. And if stuff like this is true, it just means they can do what they want with us when they want to do it. And it's going to be, you either like it or don't like it. And again, it's not meant to mean that the hobby's not fun. There's lots of fun still to be had within this hobby, but let's just sort of see what comes from this. And let's sort of see, like I said a little bit earlier, what you guys can help me shake loose from, breakers that or the friends that what sort of inside information you can get out there. Or if you are a breaker and you want to share some more information on this, i.e. off the record or on the record, is up to you, then please reach out to my email down below, or reach out via the DMs, because I think this one is pretty damn spicy. So that's sort of it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts. As always, give me a like and a follow if you did like it. If you didn't like it, also let me know what your thoughts were down below, and I'll try and improve. But that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.